So now we're still on section 8.4, but we're going to be doing inverse trigonometry, which is backwards trig, which most kids think will be harder, but it's actually easier. So if you guys look, they're going to teach you these inverse sine, inverse cosine, and inverse tangents. I'm going to kind of use this table in a second once I show you an example, and then it will make more sense. If you will, take your calculator, though. I want to show you on the calculator where you'll locate these. All right, so if you guys look on your calculator, where you have your sine, cosine, and tangent button, behind them on this type of calculator, you'll see sine -1, cosine -1, and tangent -1. Or you might have to hit the trig button on your calculator and scroll through till you see the -1s. But these are like the inverses, which are the backwards ones. The way you get to them is you hit second, then sine, or second, then cosine, or second, then tangent. But you need it to say -1, and I'll show you why in a second. All right, so go down here on part A. We are actually looking to find the angle. We know the sides, we don't know the angle. So this is the inverse of what we were doing on the front, where we knew the angle and not the sides. We're still going to label O, A, H. Obviously, the A has nothing on it, so we're going to ignore that. And we're going to use the O and the H instead of the A. So we have to think in SOHCAHTOA's name, which one uses the O and H? Well, it's SOHCAHTOA. So you can write that on your paper and notice that the O and H is the sine ratio. So we're going to be choosing sine. So here's how we write this. Sine of y equals, and we're going to do the O over the H, which is 18 over 27. Now, in order to undo the sine, we're going to do the inverse sine, which is going to take it off. So when I do the inverse sine, it's going to look like this. I'm going to undo the sine by taking the inverse sine of the other side, which is going to basically take off the sine and find what the angle is. So watch how easy it is to do this. You take your calculator, you hit second or shift, depending on your calculator, sine, and then you can just type it in as a fraction, 18 fraction 27, or just do 18 divided by 27, and hit enter. And it's going to spit out the angle degree as a decimal, because it's going backwards for you. It's actually like searching. You can kind of see the calculator pause for a second. It searches for the angle degree that has that ratio in a right triangle. And the angle degree that has that ratio in a right triangle for sine is 41.8. So the angle degree is 41.8. If it ever says round to the nearest degree, a lot of times they'll just let you round angles to the nearest degree. You can make it 42 degrees if it says that. Okay, let's try the next one. We're trying to find angle X, and so we're going to label the O, the A, and the H. So this is opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent means next to the angle, but not the hypotenuse. All right, obviously the O has nothing on it, so don't use O. So this one has an A and an H. Okay, so we go up here to SOHCAHTOA's name, and we realize that A and H goes with cosine. So we're going to write it this way. Cos of X degrees equals, the A is 15 and the H is 17. All right, I need to undo the cosine, like go backwards. So to do that, I'm going to hit cosine -1 and then type in my 15 divided by 17, and that will spit out the angle degree since I'm going backwards. So I hit second or shift, then cosine, and I can just do 15 divided by 17. You can also use the fraction key, but occasionally it'll mess up, like it won't like your fraction. So if you use the divide by key, it probably is better than the fraction key. All right, it's going to spit out the angle measure that has that ratio for the cosine of that right triangle, and this is going to be 28.1. So X is 28.1 degrees. And if it says round to the nearest degree, which a lot of times it will, you can just make it 28 degrees. So obviously these are easier, even though you're going backwards. They're easier to type in and they're easier to find because you don't have to do the proportion in it. You don't have to cross multiply. So this is how you find an angle in a triangle that's not special by using inverse sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay.